Reddit Ask Me Anything. I am Peter Moore, the longest held hostage in Iraq, kept captive for over 2.5 years. Ask me anything. In April of 2007 I accepted a 3-month posting in Iraq working for the American IT consulting firm Bearing Point. I arrived in Baghdad on the 2nd of April 2007 where my main job was to develop spending reports from the computer system used within the Ministry of Finance. On the 29th of May 2007 around 100 Iraqi police officers from the Ministry of Interior entered the building and took away myself and 4 British guards. For 6 months I was moved around meeting up with the British guards. In December of 2007 I was separated from the other Britons and was held with 2 Americans. In June of 2007 I was transported back to Baghdad and this was the last time I had contact with any of the other hostages. In May of 2009 the number 2 commander of the militia, Laith Al-Khazli, was released from US custody in exchange for the bodies of 2 of the British guards. In September over 100 militia were released in exchange for the body of 1 of the guards. On the 30th of December 2009, 946 days, or 2 years, 7 months and 1 day, after I was captured, I was released in exchange for the militia leader Qais Al-Khazli. The last of the hostages' bodies were eventually handed over in early 2012. Ask me anything. What was the first 24 hours like when you returned? Well, I was handed over to the British Embassy in Baghdad. The very first thing I saw on TV was Lady Gaga. I did not know what this was about. It was very strange seeing myself on all the news channels. What was your happiest, or at the very least, most tolerable memory of your time in captivity? When they took the chains off, after 2 years, and today me I could walk around the room. How has life changed for you after this? My work ethic has changed completely. I used to be a workaholic. Now I only work a few months each year and holiday the rest. Did your employers set you up for life? Surely you deserve to spend the rest of your days at peace. No, my company went bankrupt in 2009, but my division got purchased, so I got my salary, nothing additional. How did you stay sane? Were you in constant fear for your life, or did you kind of realize somehow that they were going to try and use you to bargain after a while? In the final year I had a TV and PlayStation, so that helped. Once I was out of the blindfold I used to join dots on the wall pretending they were metro stations, and I designed a new computer. I would also try to solve mathematical problems with shapes on the curtain and conduct job interviews with my pillow. Were you abused or simply held? I got beaten, had broken ribs, cracked skull from being hit on the head, glass smashed on my leg, was kept in chains for 2 years, handcuffed and blindfolded for a year, mock executions, all good stuff. 00. If it's not too difficult, do you mind elaborating on what your living conditions were and what kinds of physical and mental stresses you were subject to? I was moved around every couple of months. One time they took me outside, knelt me down, put a gun to my head and pulls the trigger. At the same time they fired another gun off behind my back. I thought I was dead. That might the craziest shit I've read on Reddit. I can't even ducking imagine that. You're saying everything that happened to you as if it's no big deal, like yeah, I got chained up and wasn't allowed to stand for like a year, and there were fake executions and I thought I was dead. Truly, I don't even know how to begin thinking about that. It really puts things into perspective. I just want to try and answer the questions as honestly as I can. I'm not sure if this would freak me out or surprise me that there is life after death. After the gun went off you were still thinking. I wasn't really sure what had happened. You stuff about seeing lights and corridors and all that stuff. So I was surprised when none of that happened. I assume you never got to see a doctor during your 2 years and 7 months of captivity. So did all your wounds get healed up correctly, or do you still experience physical problems at the places you were injured? Most of my wounds healed. I have a scare on my leg, a dent in my head, and one of my back teeth was removed as it got broken when I was hit in the jaw with an AK-47. Did the captors ever reveal why everyone was murdered but you? Did you offer something valuable to them as incentive to keep you around? They told me that they were killed either because they tried to escape or because they were being held in a house that the militia thought was being raided. One of my regrets is not pushing harder for the exact circumstances of each one. But at the time I remember thinking that they are dead and there is nothing I can do to change that. I just need to concentrate on myself now. Did you learn the language of your captors? If so, did you try to learn or did it just happen? I did try to learn Arabic and I did learn some localized slang. That way I was able to work out which area of Iraq the various captors came from. Was there anything positive you took from this? I'm trying to imagine, but I can't think of anything good being experienced. I was in Talil in 06 and I was amazed at how horribly they treated each other. I can't imagine what you must have gone through. Sure, I live in an Iraq house during those war times, so it was interesting to see how people lived without electricity or running water. Also learned some of the language and learnt about Islam. I saw you said you had a PlayStation and TV your last year. What did you play? What did you watch? Who gave you these? What were your living conditions like? How many people were around you? What was your mindset going into your job initially? How close were you to your guards? I played some FIFA football game and couple of shooting games. I used to watch TV with the Iraqis and we spent a lot of time watching NCIS, CSI and Prison Break, which annoyed me. Going into my job I really believed I would make some difference. I have worked in IT for years and I specialize in developing countries. The guards fell into 3 groups. Downright evil, would hit us. Ones that just did their job, didn't talk, but just gave the food etc. Ones that actively wanted to improve their English or know more about us. Besides being released and seeing your family, what did you desire, crave, wish for the most? For some reason garlic bread was what I wanted most. I was in Baghdad when you were taken. The rumor was that there were 1 or more other Bearing Point employees there that day that were hidden and saved by the Iraqis working at MOF. Is this true? Also, the story was that the IPs got you all out of the vehicle by pouring gasoline over it and threatening to light it. Yes, there was another British Bearing Point employee there and apparently he was hidden by his Iraqi co-workers. I don't know about the car bit as I was inside the ministry along with 2 of the guards. What was something or someone, significant other, family, children etc. that kept you going every day? When I was first taken I told them I had a wife, so I spent my time building on this imaginary wife. I based the person on an ex-girlfriend. Have you told her about this? Yes, she is actually in Guyana, South America, which is where I was working before Iraq. Did you meditate while being held hostage? Yes, very much. Fortunately my mum taught me yoga as a kid so I was able to use some of that. How much would you say yoga helped you cope? It helped me relax and I think that stopped me from trying to fight the Iraqis. I guess it gave me some sort of focus. Do you suffer from any form of post-traumatic stress disorder after the whole ordeal? I was checked out by a military psych when I got out and I was given the all clear, but I have my moments. I usually only get flashbacks a couple of times a day now, whereas it used to 2 or 3 times a minute. Were there any moments when you thought you wouldn't make it out alive? I thought that it would all be over within 6 months, dead or alive. In 2009 when I was told everyone else was dead, I thought they would kill me also. How close did you ever come to committing suicide, both in terms of the opportunity and the decision to do it? Opportunity was there in mid 2009. I was going to use the chain. I thought it was very fitting to hang myself using the chain that they had kept me in for 2 years. The only reason I did not go through with it is because I would not be able to see the reaction of the Iraqis as they walked in and saw me hanging there. Did they ever try to make you say negative things about England or the US? I know some people are forced to do that. Yes, I had to say it on video a number of times. I had to say that the coalition was bad and that the militia was good etc. Did they ever torture you into saying something? They just pointed a gun at me and told me to speak into the camera. Felt it wasn't worth arguing too much. What was the worst moment of captivity? And besides being free again, what was the best? In 2009, after I knew the others were dead, I was taken out of the chains that I had been kept in for 2 years. I thought it would be fitting to hang myself using the chain. The best bit was after the first year, then they took the handcuffs off and allowed me to stand up. You weren't allowed to stand up? What was that like? For nearly a year I was handcuffed. chained and blindfolded so I couldn't move much. I got very sick and lost all of my muscles. When they took the handcuffs off, my back and shoulders hurt for months. I forget what it's called, but did you ever have that thing where you sympathized with your captors? Stockholm Syndrome. This was something I did not suffer from. How do you feel about your captors? I do have strong feelings about them. They were against the military occupation, which annoyed me as I wasn't military. You sound very calm, considering what you went through. Are you at all angry at them? If you happen to find them on your turf, would you kill them, torture them, want them arrested and thrown in jail? What's done is done. I can turn the clock back. I knew that I was going to Iraq. I knew the risks. I never thought I would be held so long or for political purposes. If I ever met them again, I would just talk to them. But the meeting would have to take place on neutral ground. Glad you're back. Thanks, me too. You know Reddit respects you when they let that to slide. Do you have any advice for someone if they were to get into this type of situation? Try to get your captors to treat you as a human and try to show them you have some boundaries. Try to get things from them to see how far they will go out of their way. I asked for certain foods and certain types of toothpaste. Do you want to go back and avenge yourself and others against your hostage takers? Does it make you feel like your government didn't care about you but cared more about the already dead soldiers, being that they were being released for the militia before you? Edit. Grammar. Spelling. I would be interested in meeting the group, which is now a political party within the Iraqi government. Not sure I would go to Iraq to meet them though. I feel more likely I would meet them at a UN meeting in New York or somewhere similar. For some reason it was policy of the British government to get the oldies out first. They never explained to me why this was policy. Does oldies refer to the bodies? Sorry if that is a stupid question, haha. Unusual policy regardless. Oops, sorry, typo. Yes, I meant bodies. iPad is not a good device for typing on. Were you compensated in any way? Did they roll out the red carpet when you were released? Also, who from your personal life did you see first and what was the conversation like? No compensation. I just got my salary. Bearing point, the company I worked for actually went bankrupt in 2009. But my division was bought out, so that company carried on paying my salary. The first people I met were my step-parents in a government house back in the UK. So that company carried on paying my salary. Just to be clear, you do mean they kept paying you while you were hostage, right? They didn't take you off payroll or anything, right? Correct. They kept paying me while I was a hostage. Interestingly, I also got pay rises and promotions. If there was one thing you could have done differently, what would that one thing be? I think, with hindsight, we should have not stayed as long as I did with the Ministry of Finance. What the everlasting duck? I am a news junkie. I have never heard anything about this. Tell me more. Does this happen often? It wasn't published very much and I haven't done much PR about it. But Google Peter Moore hostage and you will find loads of articles. Also, if you search Peter Moore in the Reddit search box, articles come up. Silly question. But were you aware when your birthday or a significant other's birthday had passed? That really is the first thing that popped into my head when I saw you were a captive 2.5 years. I managed to keep track of days pretty well. I worked the week Tuesday to Tuesday as that was the day we were abducted. In late 2008 onwards I had a TV, so it was easy to keep track of time with that. Do you think your captors are bad people or good people on the opposite side of a conflict? No, I just think they were in a conflict. What is interesting is that this militia were actually enemies of Saddam Hussein. What were the reasons or the purpose behind taking you as a hostage? What did your captors hope to gain by holding you and keeping you alive? Did you ever consider or plan escaping, even as a thought exercise rather than as an executable course of action? Your story is chilling and I'm glad you survived it. I have no relevant experience in my life to empathize with your ordeal and I hope I never do. On the face of it, we were taken to do an exchange for the militia leaders. But my work would have shown misspending within the Iraqi government and there are theories we were taken because of that. We did have a plan for escape, but never had chance to implement it. What was the plan? Or is that confidential? Okay, so one of the plans was that when one of the British guards went to the toilet they were going to lock myself and the two Iraqis in the room. Those two rooms in Iraq all have locks on them and they always left the key in the lock. The British guard would then go and get the gun from the room next door, come back and shoot the Iraqis. What do you feel is the most important thing you took away from this ordeal? Just to think about the implications of your actions. I knew my parents would be upset about it, but I had friends of friends who were crying when they met me. At any point did you think I'm going to die a hostage? I'm never going to see my family? Or were you always hopeful that you would be released? I thought I was going to die every day, but once I knew the guards had been killed I really thought that I would never get out. It was after the number 2 commander got released. He came to see me in June 2009 and I pointed out that America did not keep him the same as me. He agreed and conditions improved. Do you feel like it was a fair trade? 100 militia who could do more damage to allied forces for the bodies of your comrades? I'm sorry if it sounds hard but I would have chosen the live hostages like yourself over the deceased ones. No, it was not a good trade. I would not have done it if I was in charge. I would not have exchanged myself for the militia leader either. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content. It's free and that's a great price.